Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. So today, what we're going to be talking about is low cost and no cost marketing ideas. If you don't know who I am, it's your first time here. I am Marco Patricio. I am a marketing strategist. So I work with tons of brands of all sizes, working out how they can really find a space in their own industry and coming up with ideas for how they can capture and connect with more customers. And so today we're going to be talking about a topic that almost all small businesses are very interested in, which is marketing. And especially because we're a small business, marketing at low cost or at no cost. So most of the ideas that we're going to be talking about today are free for the most part, but we are also going to talk about how if you wanted to augment some of the things that are already working that you are doing for free, how you can do that. So let's get started. So first, let's talk about marketing. What is marketing? Marketing is a really hot topic, especially when it comes to small business, especially when it comes to those small businesses that are just getting online and are trying to work out, e-commerce or bringing in customers from the internet, because there is so much opportunity. But when we're talking about marketing, what are we really talking about? And the way that I like to think about it is that when we're marketing, we're trying to do three things. We're trying to get our customers to know us, to like us, and to trust us. Because if our customers know who we are, they know what our products are, they like us, and they trust us, they're going to be much more likely to buy our products from us. These are all things that are going to shift the decision-making towards us and ideally away from our competitors. So when we're thinking about marketing, just know that we're thinking about how to get more people to know us, how to get people to trust us more, how to get people to like us more in order, ideally, to make more sales or to acquire more customers. And of course, most people think of marketing as a way to acquire more customers. So a lot of our focus is going to be on how to get new customers using a lot of online tools and some offline tools. So when we're thinking about marketing, really it's important to think about it backwards. People always think, I want to get more customers, or I want to get more visits to my website, or I want to get more followers on social media. But it's very, very important when we are starting a marketing journey to think about the end. And in marketing, we call this funnels, shaped like a funnel. So a lot of people come in the top and a few people come out of the bottom. So a lot of our marketing is going to apply to a much wider audience than the potential pool of customers that are eventually going to buy from us. But the important thing about funnels is we need to know ideally when we are marketing, where are we ideally sending customers and why are we sending them there? Or what are we going to do when they get there? So for example, if I sent you 100 people that are interested in your market, that are in your demographic, that are into your niche, what would you do with them? How would you convert those people into customers? And I think that the challenge is a lot of people just think of marketing as how do I attract more eyeballs? How do I get more people to know about me? How do I get more people to, like my videos or whatever it might be? But that's a distraction, because really what we need to know is what we would do if we had more people coming into our store, or if we had more people coming into our website, or if we had more people, looking at any of our content. So it's very important that we know what we would eventually do if we acquired all these customers. And we're going to talk about this a little bit at the end, but it's just important to think as a small business, don't get too stressed about, if you're not getting a lot of attention or anything like that, because really what matters is that you're being effective on the customers that you do have. And so we want to be very effective with the customers that we do have first, and then use marketing as a way to scale that up. So if you're not converting a lot of customers right now, if a lot of people are coming into your store but not buying, that is a problem that you want to address before you start marketing, before you start putting your time and your money and your energy into bringing more people into a system that doesn't quite work yet. But today, what we are talking about is how to bring people into that system. But I just wanted to note that it's important that you know what you're going to do with those people once they get there. So Another note is that free doesn't mean easy. So if we're talking about, low cost and no cost marketing tools or marketing ideas, often people think, this is just a thing I can do and all of a sudden it will work and, all these customers will be coming into my store. And while that is true, it's not entirely true in that it doesn't happen without effort. Paid marketing tends to be thought of as being easier because what you're paying for is the result. The onus is on the advertising platform to bring eyeballs into your content or to bring people into your store. Where with these free marketing tools, the onus is on us to do the work. Just because they're free, it doesn't mean that they're easy. And any marketing goal, any marketing strategy is going to require a lot of dedication and especially consistency. So when we're thinking about doing any of these things that we're going to talk about, we want to think about how much can we commit to it? How much time can we commit to it? How much money can we commit to it? How much energy can we commit to it? Because the worst thing you can do in marketing is start and then give up, or then stop or disappear from your audience. So we want to be consistent and we want to be present. So like anything in your business, when it comes to marketing, you want to do everything well. But in order to do everything well, you don't do everything. So I'm going to go through a lot of ideas, but while you're going through, think about the ones that might be most applicable to your business or that you might be most well positioned to execute on, and only do those things very well. Don't do every single thing that we talk about today, because as a small business, you probably are doing this with yourself or with a small team. And therefore, we don't have the same time or energy or resources that much bigger businesses do. So we have to be very intelligent about where we're putting our time, about where we're putting our effort, about where we're putting our intention. And really, if we focus on doing one or two things very well, that generally is going to lead to much more successful marketing outcomes than if we just do everything and if we're everywhere for the sake of it. So this is also should be reassuring to people, because a lot of times in small businesses, people will give you advice saying you should be on this platform or you should be doing this or you should be doing that. But rest assured that you don't need to be everywhere that all your competitors are or that every other business owner is. You just need to be in the places that matter, that are going to be effective to you, and that you have the opportunity to do very, very well. So let's talk about what some of those places are. When we are thinking about how to make ourselves more marketable or how to find more customers, when we are online, the main thing that we want to think about is making ourselves findable in places that people are already looking for us or our products, okay? So the primary thing that people are doing on the internet, for example, is consuming, okay? And so people are coming in with a lot of intention. So they're consuming content or they're buying things or whatever it might be. So when people are looking for us, we want to be findable. This is the number one change that absolutely any business can make in order to make themselves instantly more successful when it comes to marketing. That when people are looking for you, it has to be incredibly easy to find you. And this also means making our products come up when people are looking for our products. So we're going to talk about how to do that, but it's very, very important that when somebody is seeking you out, you make yourself visible. And so that's sort of what we're going to be talking about with all of these tools. Another thing that we want to do, especially online, but also offline, is leverage larger audiences, to get ourselves in front of more potential customers. So a challenge for a lot of small businesses, especially when it comes to online, especially when it comes to marketing, is that we don't have the biggest audience when we're starting from scratch, or we do have, an audience that is dedicated to us, but they're small and they're local. So what we want to be doing in almost every situation that we can think of, especially when it comes to online tools, is leveraging larger audiences in order to get ourselves in front of more potential customers. So I think gone are the days of sort of being hyper-focused on our own individual follower. How many followers do we have? How many likes do we have? How many whatever? All of these vanity metrics that, used to matter because, having a lot of followers on Instagram used to mean something, or having a lot of followers on Facebook used to mean something. I think in this day and age, what matters more, again, is when people are looking for you, when people do find you, what are they finding? Okay, so we're going to talk about how to make that great. And that goes back to that original funnel idea, where it's like, when people come to you, what are they going to get? What are you going to do when these customers are in front of you, and how are you going to convert them? So let's talk about the very first tool, the very first low cost, or in this case, no cost marketing idea, which is Google. So Google, especially for local businesses, especially for Main Street businesses, is an incredibly, incredibly valuable tool. And specifically, we're talking about Google Maps, which is on the back end called Google Business. But Google Maps is, Google is the largest search engine, the largest English language search engine. It has something like 94% of search. So when people are looking for you, the place that they're going to be looking is on Google. Now, the main Google product, the search engine, is something that there's a lot of ad competition in. So if somebody searches for, yoga in your city, the likelihood that they are going to see the customer that pays the most to Google is incredibly high. That is the way that advertising platforms work. But the one place that is really great for Main Street businesses, because it is so democratic, is Google Maps. And this is also a way that increasingly young people, or people from my generation, are finding local businesses. So when you think about it, a lot of the way that people are discovering our store is interest-based. So we might have a name. So this store, for example, in Vintage We Trust in Toronto, love this store. But they have their own name in Vintage We Trust, but what they are is a vintage clothing store. So the majority of people who find the store, who don't already know it, are going to find it by searching vintage clothing store. So let's talk about how to make Google Maps a successful tool for you. So this used to be called Google My Business. If you've heard people talking about that, Google My Business and Google Business Profile is the same product. So it's just changed names in the last couple of years. So now it's called Google Business Profile. And what Google Business Profile does is it gives you the ability essentially to list your product on Google and your business on Google and on Google Maps. Now, this is an opportunity that no business with a retail location can afford to pass up, okay? Every single person, if you have a brick and mortar store, should have a Google My Business profile, and it should be filled out and up to date. And this should be something that you care about so much. If you are not doing this currently, you are missing potentially one of the biggest free opportunities to bring customers into your store that exists. Obviously, everyone uses Google, everyone uses Google Maps. And so this is a massive opportunity that if you're not participating in, you are missing out on. Not for any reason other than you just simply haven't done it yet. So when we're talking about Google My Business and your Google, and we're talking about Google Business Profile, which is what it's called now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that all of your information is there, accurate, and up to date. So you want to have things like your address. You want to have things like your hours. You want to have contact information like your phone number. All of these things matter because when people are searching on Google Maps, if they're searching in close proximity to your store, they're going to make a split-second decision about, which store to go to. And if a store doesn't have hours, then you don't know if that store is going to be open. You don't even know if that store really even exists. So having these simple pieces of information just adds some legitimacy. We're going to talk about more important ways to bring people in a second with Google Business Profile. But starting just from the very basics, having your address, having your hours, having your contact information is going to make you much more searchable and much more findable for people in your local area. So things that you want to do to improve that, they're actually going to start bringing people in. You want to include photos of your store, okay? And of your product selection. So a lot of people use Google Maps as a sort of pre-shopping tool. I am one of these people. I would do anything I could possibly do to avoid coming into your store. I do every single little bit of research that I can online before I go to a store. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes, if possible, I would still order online from a store, even if it's 20 minutes away from me. So this is going to be something that helps people decide whether they are going to come to your store or not, or potentially even whether they are going to become your customer or not. So when you include photos of your store, what that allows people to see is what kind of store you are. And by what kind of store you are, I don't mean what products and services do you sell. I mean, what is the atmosphere in there? Who is the store for? Now, people with brick and mortar stores, like everyone here, put a lot of pride into your storefront. And maybe your online presence isn't as good as your storefront is. And so this is really an opportunity to show people what that in-store experience is like. So do it justice, okay? Include photos of your store and of your product selection. And that just means take photos of the shelves, take photos of the displays, so people can get an idea of what is in your store before they go there. So again, remember they've gotten here through a search term. And so this is just validation for them about what this shopping experience might be like. And the thing is that there's only upside to this process. So if you post photos of your store and you think that your store is great for your customers, and somebody sees your store and goes, oh, that's not really the kind of store that I was looking for. Yes, they sell kitchen utensils, but that's not really the kind of kitchen utensil that I was looking for. It's actually better that they see that before they come into your store, because you want people coming to your store that are high intention. So the other thing that you want to do, aside from photos of your store and your product selection, is to include keywords that customers would search for. Remember that this is a search engine. So you want to be very careful and think about all the potential ways that somebody could find your store. And I'm going to give you an example of the ways that you should be thinking down different paths of how somebody might reach you. So I have just recently moved, and as anybody who has recently moved knows, you spend a lot of time looking at furniture and home decor and all of these sort of things. And I have a favorite brand. And when I searched in Google for this home brand, not very many stores came up. And in the stores that did come up, it was very hard to tell how much of this product did they have, what did they have, did they only have the couches, or did they also have the lighting? Like, what did and didn't they have? And where I ended up finding this product was in a store that was just around the corner from my house that didn't have themselves listed on Google as carrying that brand. So if I didn't happen to be stumbling around my neighborhood, I never would have bought from that store, although I was a very, very high intention customer. I was specifically looking to buy this brand. And there was a store 500 meters away from me that had these products. But because they hadn't updated their Google business profile, I didn't know that I could buy the products there. And so we don't want to leave this to happenstance. So it's great when somebody does, walk down the street and happens to look into your window and says, wow, this is just what I've been looking for. But we actually want to avoid that situation. We want everyone to already know what is in our store, and we want all those things to be searchable. So if you are a store that carries multiple brands, list all the brands and the keywords that you have, or the popular ones that people are most likely to be searching for. If you have a lot of different kinds of products, maybe you're an electronics store and you sell phone chargers, but you also sell ring lights, and you also sell microphones for podcasting, and you also sell video cameras, and you also sell et cetera, et cetera. You want to list those things in the keywords, because the way that a lot of people, myself included, use Google Maps is by searching for the thing that they're looking for. I would search cameras in Google Maps. I wouldn't search camera store. I would search, the name of a specific camera or the name of a specific brand. And that's how I would identify where I could go looking around the city, especially if I'm in a new city, for the products that I'm looking for. So yes, be broad and allow customers to understand what it is that your store does. You sell donuts, or you sell pool supplies, or you sell bathing suits, or you sell cycling equipment, but then also be very specific. Not only do we sell cycling equipment, but these are the brands of bicycle that we sell. So if you're looking for a Cannondale bike, we have them here. Another thing that you want to do when it comes to your Google business profile is emphasize, ask for, incentivize, and interact with reviews. Reviews are so important to somebody that has never been to your store before. Reviews truly can make or break you. A bad review, obviously, means that many of us are unlikely to go to a store that has very bad reviews. You know, people will give you the benefit of the doubt. Usually they'll read the review to try to see, why is there bad reviews? But if you are poorly rated, people are not going to go there, which is why it's so important that we're positively rated. If we see a store that has a lot of positive 5-star reviews or 4-star reviews, we are also going to want to go in there. But we also are validating based on what our peers are doing, that this is a store that is worth going to. So people who are like us have already been there, and this is their opinion of it. Online reviews, again, are so important. It is completely normal to ask people for reviews. Say, if you had a good experience, please leave us a review. It really matters to us. You're not forcing anybody to do anything. And certainly don't force anybody to do anything. Don't say, you get 5% off if you leave a positive review or anything like that. People read reviews and actually go through them. So if reviews feel disingenuous, that is actually going to hurt you rather than helping you. So don't force people to give reviews, but definitely let your customers know that if they had a positive experience, that reviews really help you. And customers who like you will leave reviews. I have done it tons of times. I'm sure all of you have. And we all know that this is something that matters a lot when we are searching in our own neighborhoods, in our own cities for stores to go to. So you also want to interact with reviews. This is very important. You see this primarily when people are reacting to negative reviews. So someone's giving a negative review and the store is replying saying, oh, I'm sorry you had this bad experience. Here's our perspective of what happened. But you shouldn't always be on the defensive. It's very helpful to be proactive, and especially to answer customer questions. If one customer has a question, it is very likely that other customers will have that exact same question. So there's two ways that you can fix that. Either, if it's a very simple question that should be easy to answer, like what our hours are, make sure that those things are updated in your Google business profile. But if it's something more nuanced, like, do you carry this brand, or can I do rentals, or can I come try this thing, or are you open on the holidays, or whatever it might be, interact with those reviews, answer those questions, because that's going to help other customers who have those same questions and concerns down the road. So it's really giving you an opportunity to almost create content that is going to help other customers who might be interested in the same thing. And again, it's just going to show them what kind of store you are, what kind of people are in the store, and that you're someone who cares about your customers. Another important thing that you want to do on your Google business profile is tell your customers where else they can find you. And by that, I mean, if you have a website, you should put your website there. If you have social media, you should put your social media there. Again, there's a lot of people who are using Google My Business as a first line of attack when they're looking for a product to buy, or when they're looking for a service. So the more information that you can give them before they get into your store, the more likely they are to buy once they actually get there. Because if I see your store on Google Maps, I see that it's very close to me in my neighborhood, and then I go to your social media and see, all the products that you have, or I go to your website and learn more about your story, or whatever it might be. When I finally come into your store, I'm much more likely to buy because I'm so informed. It's not like I just walked down the street and walked into your store. I looked you up. I read the reviews, I went to your website, I went to your social media. So for me to come in, I'm going to be quite confident that I'm going to make a purchase when I'm there, or I wouldn't have bothered to show up in the first place. It's important to remember when we are thinking about, showing up in other places that are not Google, for example, that your online presence should mirror your offline one. So this could seem like a daunting thing for a lot of people. What people often think this means is that, your online store should look exactly like your retail store, or, your Instagram or your Pinterest has to be really high class if you're a high class store. And that's not really what I mean at all. What I mean is that people should have an equally similar experience online as they would offline. So if somebody walked into your store, what would they see? If they would see a display of products, then your online presence should be a display of products. If they would see one of your employees coming up to them, asking them questions, explaining things about your product, then your online presence should be one of your employees explaining things and answering questions. So whatever it is that you do in your offline store, in your brick and mortar store, that you should mirror that as closely as possible in your online store. And the reason that I've put this here is the thing that follows. So if people were to find you, what would you want them to see? I think this is a very, very important thing. Coming back to the funnels. So let's say someone does come through Google Maps and they click on your business. What do you want them to see next that is going to convince them to buy? You have a moment to think about it, and then I will tell you the answer to that question. So when we're thinking about social media, my number one piece of advice, because social media is a really great marketing tool, but I do think that in the last 5 years, let's say, the way that brands exist and interact on social media has changed dramatically. And the usefulness of social media as a tool to attract new customers hasn't diminished, but it has changed. So for Main Street businesses, the way that we use social media is going to be a little bit different to the traditional idea of what social media used to be. I think the old idea of social media was really, it matters how many followers I have. I need 10 million followers, and it doesn't matter whether these followers are nowhere near my local community, if they're halfway across the world, as long as people are following me, that looks good. And so therefore, I am going to chase that goal. What matters more now, and especially for small businesses, the thing that I encourage you to focus on is potency. So when people are on your social media, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. What matters is how good is the experience that they are going to have, okay? So what you wanna do is you wanna keep things simple, okay? And you wanna keep your social media, so what you're actually posting on social media, this is a massive tip that I think a lot of small businesses overthink, get wrong, and then overinvest in. So a lot of people say, wow, social media is such a waste of time. It's such a waste of money. I've put in all this energy and I haven't seen a return on my investment. And the reason is that what they're doing is acting like big brands. So what big brands do a lot of the time is they become lifestyle social media brands, like a lifestyle Instagram brand. They don't just post their product, they post their product on a beach in Fiji, which is obviously not something that we as small local businesses have the opportunity to do, or that's even really relevant to us. So my advice for small businesses, if you are wondering what to post on social media, post your products. Actually, exclusively post your products. I think gone are the days where, people are battling so much against the algorithm and trying to be discovered by all of these people. Our goal here in this session is, if somebody finds you, what is the ideal thing that you would like them to see? And of course, the ideal thing that you would like them to see is the products that they can buy from you. That, coincidentally, is also the ideal thing that they would like to see. If you're looking up a store, what you're essentially looking up is, do they have things that I want to buy? So if they're a clothing store, I want to look at what clothing they have in the store. I don't necessarily want to look at, a runway shot from 1996 that they were highly inspired by. What I want to see is, if I come into the store today, what can I buy? As the customer, it is about me. So when you're on social media, you want it to be about what instant gratification can the customer get. So when we are posting on social media, when we're choosing social media, and we're going to talk about which ones I recommend in a second, but I want you to focus on platforms that are searchable and browsable. These are two very, very important and very related ideas. So searchable, obviously, means that if your customer is searching for a lamp, you want them to type in lamp in whatever social media platform that they're coming from, and you want them to find a lamp. But not only do you want them to find a lamp, you want them to find your lamp. Okay, so if they search lamps Ottawa or lamps Vancouver, you want them to find your store in those locations. Browsable is almost the inverse of that. It's making it possible for them to look at everything that it is that you have. So if they happen to stumble upon your store by finding one of your lamps, for example, what else can they look at? What other products do you have? And we're going to talk in a second about making a catalog, which is such an important idea in this new era of social media. So when we're talking about things that are searchable and things that are browsable, the two primary examples that I'm using, these are very visual examples, and you'll see why in a second, is Pinterest, which is almost entirely search-based, and Instagram, which is very much catalog. Even the design of Instagram, that grid, is perfect for scrolling through and looking at every single thing that a brand has ever posted. And again, if we're thinking about customer intent, if what we want is our customers to buy things, it is in our best interest that when people are scrolling through, they see a lot of things to buy. It sounds very simple when you say it like that, but it's taken us years and years to arrive at this very simple strategy. We want people to buy, show them things they can buy, especially as a local small business. So Pinterest, again, you can also post all your products on there. You can sort them by keyword, and you can bring people in. Pinterest is not as great if what you're looking for is a local audience, but again, it can act as a catalog. So you could even link your Pinterest, in your other social media or in your Google Business profile, and that way people can see all the products that you have. Again, what we're trying to do is take the in-store retail experience and put it online in a very simplistic way. The in-store retail experience is looking at all the products that we have. So the online experience should be a replica of that as much as we possibly can make it. So a thing to remember that is very important when we're thinking about social media is that social media requires content if we are participating in it, if we're posting, versus just interacting with comments or whatever it might be. And the content that your customers care about the most are your products. Again, I've worked with so many small brands, I've worked with so many startups, I've worked with so many local small businesses. And I think the one thing that people get wrong, especially when it comes to social media, is they overthink the strategy so much. And the brands that I see becoming very successful locally are the ones that keep it incredibly simple. Keeping it simple and posting your product on your social media, it has a whole lot of benefits. One of which is that you don't have to think about what to post. Second of which is that if you have new products, you always have new content, which gives you an opportunity to reoccur in the algorithm, which gives you the opportunity to be discovered by more customers, et cetera, et cetera. So what you want to do, the first thing that you want to do, obviously, is have the content, okay? So every time you get a product, I'm assuming here that we have online stores, but if you don't have an online store, what you should do as a good activity, a thing that is useful to have, is take photos of every product that you have in your store or every service that you have in your store, okay? This is step one. It doesn't have to be complicated, and I'm gonna show you a lot of examples in a moment, but this is step one, have the content. Once you have the content, what you wanna do is create a catalog, okay? And when you're creating a catalog, any social media feed, should do one of two things. It should either make your customers aware of your product, okay? So saying, not only do we have these shoes, but we have these shoes. Not only do we have donuts, but we have crullers. Not only do we have coffee, but we have tea, for example, and making your customers want your product. So, do you want to eat a donut? Here is all the donuts that we have. Here's a person eating a donut. Does that not make you want to eat a donut? So this is sort of the thing that we're working on. I'm explaining it in extremely simplistic terms, but that's because it is very simple. So we want to create a catalog. We want to have all our products visible, and every single post within reason on our social media feeds should either be letting people know about a product that we have that they can buy, or showing them other people enjoying that product, saying, don't you wish that you had this product also? Okay, so, and this strategy works, I promise, for almost every product business and even for service businesses. So again, the most useful strategy for 99% of businesses, and I'm gonna show you examples in 1 second, I promise, is simply to show your customers all the products that they can buy. Why do we want to do that? Because it helps you post more frequently. As I said before, it helps you get discovered by new customers. It gives existing customers a reason to return. This is so important, and I'm going to show you in, I believe, the next slide, how you can do this. But the more often you're posting new products, different products, the more often you're giving existing customers a reason to come back and buy something new. Because I am like this, I have a favorite clothing store where all I buy is the exact same t-shirt, but in different colors. All they have to do in order to get me to come back into the store is post that same t-shirt and say, we made it in a new color, or we made it in a new fit, or we made a sweater that goes perfectly with it, and I will come back into the store. So the more they post their products, the more I will go into their store. Also, because people are living their lives. You know, I'm not really walking around thinking about every store that I buy from, you know, every product that I've ever bought from those stores. And, oh, should I go back to that store to think about what new things they have? No, as small businesses, our job is to remind our customers that we exist. And sometimes it is just about that. It's just about reminding them that we exist and reminding them that we have things that they like. It also gives new customers a reason to follow. If we are constantly posting the new products that we have, for example, it gives people a reason to follow us on social media, because they know not only are we going to continually be posting products, but we are going to continually be posting products that are similar to the products that we've posted in the past. So if you like the last 50 products that we posted, guess what? You're probably going to like the next 50. It makes the decision to follow very, very simple for customers that are truly interested in our product. And it makes it easier to attract customers with very little ad spend. So this is a very, very important point, which is that when we are thinking about spending money, which again, as small businesses, we want to avoid doing as much as we possibly can until we know something works. But let's say we start a catalog, we post every product that we have, we continually do that for 4 months, and then we're starting to see that more people are coming into our store, or more people are following us on social media, or more people are converting into customers and buying those products that we're posting on social media. If we know that this is a viable strategy that works for us, the thing that we can do is we can use money to make that strategy a little bit more effective, or at least we can use money in an attempt to see if we can make that strategy. Susan just had a question, which I will answer in a moment, which makes it easier to attract customers with very little ad spend. Sorry, I lost my place there. So the thing that we want to be doing is testing things out, and if they work, only then do we want to be spending money on them. But if you think about it this way, if somebody likes looking at our beautiful products, or let's say we sell t-shirts and they're just interested in the kind of t-shirts that we sell, maybe we sell, Canadian football t-shirts, okay? And every week we post a shirt from a different team from a different year. And we have shirts that date back from 1990 all the way to today. So if you're somebody that's interested in that niche, that content is going to be interesting to you. And if we have the catalog, what it means is that we can spend very little money on ad spend, because we don't need to spend money on getting a conversion, on actually getting somebody to buy. All we need to do, if we know that this strategy works to attract customers who eventually come to our store, is spend money on Instagram saying, hey, just look at this page, look at this catalog. Do you like this? Do you like that this exists? And that's how you're going to get followers. So it makes it much easier because you don't have to rely on these advertising platforms in order to actually make the sale for you. All you're relying on them for is to bring eyeballs and a bigger audience to something that you already know works. So here is the perfect execution of this strategy, done by two completely different brands, okay? So at the top, we have a magazine store, and at the bottom, we have a vintage clothing store. These are two completely different industries in two completely different cities with the very same strategy. And here's what one does better than the other. So the store on the bottom is the store that I showed you before. It's called At Vintage We Trust. And what they do is they restock their store every Wednesday. So their social media is centered around what new clothing is going to be released on Wednesday. And the way that they do it is simply by posting almost everything that is going to be in that store that Wednesday. So this is a great idea for so many reasons. One is that it makes great content for people who are interested in this industry, but two, it creates a reason for customers to come back, and it creates urgency for new customers. So it gives them something to create content about. And then what they also do, which the brand at the top also does, is they zoom in metaphorically, but in this case, quite literally, on specific things. So this is a magazine store. Their entire social media presence is photos of the entire store stocked, so you can see what new magazines they have. And then they just highlight one magazine. So they say, if you want this magazine, we have this magazine here. It is incredibly simple. But again, if people are looking for your products, what you want them to see is what products you have and what they can buy. So this is a very effective strategy, especially when you say, we release new products every Friday, or release new products every Monday, or whatever that might be. Because it, A, gives you content to post, creates interest in your group from people from everywhere, and it creates urgency because people know not only what they will get when they come into your store, but you're specifically telling them when to come into your store to get it. Especially in a situation like these vintage t-shirts, which are limited edition, there's only one of each in the store. It makes you think, well, I should go into the store on Wednesday as soon as I can, because if I don't, somebody else is going to buy it. So this is a really great execution of the strategy. And you can see when we were talking about it before, it sounds a little bit abstract. What does it mean to make a catalog? This is exactly what I mean. So you can see they've done it in completely different ways, but they've done it in ways that match the aesthetic of their store and of their customers. So under the cover, the magazine store at the top, they are at the same time showing you what it's like in their store. So they're showing you that it's very beautiful, it's very well designed, it's a bright space. They create this idea of, you can come in here and you can sort of get lost and you can look at all these beautiful magazines and who knows what you're going to discover, right? So this is the idea of taking that offline experience, taking what that retail experience is, and bringing it to the online. Because when you go into their store, this is exactly what it looks and feels like. So some people have businesses in which they are not constantly releasing new products, right? So that's when we have to go to that other strategy or that other point that we were making about making customers want your product. So showing people enjoying your product, showing your product in situ, showing people out in the world using your product, because that is as valuable as reviews. It allows us as customers to feel aspirational, to say, wow, I really wish that I could do that. And maybe coming into the store and buying the product will make me more likely to do that thing. So I've chosen two very different examples here. At the top, we can see this is a really, if anybody is vegetarian or vegan, there's a plant-based burger shop in LA. They don't have an online store. They don't have anything. They are just a burger shop that you can come into. And all they do is post photos of their menu items. Their menu items don't change. Their menu items are the same always, but all they do is post photos of those menu items. We think about it this way: when someone is looking at the catalog of our products, it might not be so interesting for them to click into our feed and to look at the same milkshake over and over and over again. But the reality is that when you are scrolling through your own Instagram feed, you're only seeing these posts one at a time. So if you're seeing a milkshake, if I see a milkshake right now, I want a milkshake right now, which is true. I mean, aside from the weather, I could probably have a milkshake right now. If I see a milkshake next week, I'm probably also going to want a milkshake next week. So, the statute of limitations on wanting a milkshake doesn't expire just because I've seen a photo of it recently. And so you can either do that, you can continually repost your products, but perhaps a more sustainable strategy is to have photos of your products, being used. This creates an idea of people, if I come in, if I buy this product, I can use this product in this way. It's sort of aspirational, and it also proves so many things. It proves that your product is a real product. It proves that you have real customers. It proves that people like your product because presumably the people in the photos are enjoying themselves. So this is a very high production value example that I've included at the bottom. They've obviously gone out and taken these photos, or they've gotten their customers to send them their photos, which is another great idea. Having user-generated content, which is really, really important. So let's say you are a clothing shop and somebody comes in and buys your clothes and they take a picture of it and they send it to you. You can use that on your social media feed because it gives people an idea of what that clothing actually looks like on other people. And it also creates social proof because it says people are buying these clothes. You're not the only one who's buying these clothes. You're not trying something risky. If you come into our store and buy our clothes, you can be like this person, for example. And this is true of any industry. If you sell a couch and you only sell one kind of couch, I would presume that your social media strategy should be to post that couch in as many people's houses as possible. So every customer that uses this couch, you should post a picture, if you can, of those customers, what the couch looks like in their house, this couch in different situations, because what you're trying to say is this is for all these people. And that's really what we're doing when we're making aspirational content. We're saying, this is for people like this, and you could be a person like this if you buy this product. So to that end, it's very important to realize that product photos are always going to be a valuable asset. So if you have an online store, maybe think about taking those product photos or taking sort of lifestyle product photos that are going to be applicable in more places. I think increasingly what we're seeing is that the production quality necessary on a photograph or on a product photo, for example, is decreasing in the sense that, maybe 5 years ago, if you were looking at product photos, you really wanted them to be, high editorial, like, sort of Apple fancy looking professional photos. Whereas in this day and age, we have actually, first of all, we have incredible cameras in our pockets, all of us. And second of all, we are leaning more towards authenticity, because what people are getting tired of is being duped by that professionalism. So a lot of people have had the experience, or at least have heard of people that have had the experience of ordering something from an Instagram ad, and it arrives at your house and it doesn't look anything like the thing that you ordered. So people are now very aware of the idea of what marketing is, that you can make things look better than they really are, and people are trying to avoid that. So it doesn't really matter what camera you're taking your photos with. What matters is that people can imagine themselves in that situation. It matters obviously that the product looks good, but what matters more is authenticity. What matters more is selling an idea. So when you're taking product photos, maybe at the same time, take lifestyle photos, or if you can, collect user-generated content created by your customers. A great example of what you can do when you have product photos. If you just have all your product photos sitting there, you've already taken product photos for your e-commerce website, for example, or you've already taken product photos for your social media, what else can you do with them in order to generate more sales or to bring in more customers? Well, one of the things you could do with them, for example, is post them on Facebook Marketplace. So for bigger ticket items, if what you're selling is $10 or $20, maybe this strategy is not going to work for you. But if you are selling things that are a little bit more expensive, or bigger, or things that are decisions that people are going to make that they might go look on Facebook Marketplace for, which could be clothes, it could be furniture, it could be equipment of any sort, it could be sports, it could be anything that you've ever looked on Facebook Marketplace for. That's a business opportunity to sell there. So what I encourage you to do is look for things that are in your industry. So whatever your industry might be, and see if people are selling it on Facebook Marketplace, because in all likelihood they are. So what you can do is you can take all your products, you can list them on Facebook Marketplace, and then you can make your store the meetup point. So it's completely legal for stores to post their products on Facebook Marketplace. And that might be a way to find people who are looking for the thing that you are selling. Because when people are on Facebook Marketplace, they're very high intent and they're looking for a very specific thing. I don't really think that most people care about whether or not that thing is secondhand or not. I think that the reason people go to Facebook Marketplace is they're looking for a certain price point. And so if you are reasonably priced in your industry or whatever it might be, or even if you aren't, I still think it's a great idea to post your products on Facebook Marketplace, because it's just another place that is high intent. That when somebody goes on Facebook Marketplace and types in gray couch, that they really want to buy a gray couch. Nobody goes on Facebook Marketplace and types in gray couch if they're not in the market for a gray couch. So it's high intent, and this is just another idea of something that you could do with content that you already have. Of course, you could also post it everywhere else. You could post it on Facebook. You could post it on Pinterest. You could post it on Instagram. You can truly post it anywhere. But what matters is that once we have that content, it allows us to do more things. Speaking of Facebook, another great thing that we can do in order to market ourselves to more customers, to find more customers, is to use Facebook groups. I still think Facebook groups is one of the most highly underutilized community tools for small businesses. So it's not going to be a direct selling tool, and you should never try to use it as a direct selling tool. So the strategy for Facebook groups is not to go into Facebook groups and say, hey, does anybody want to buy my product? Does anyone want to buy my surfboards or my donuts or whatever it might be? But it's to find people that could potentially be your customers. So it's to start joining communities that your brand could be a part of, that your customers will also be a part of. So it's exposing more people to your brand. Essentially, it's doing what marketing should do, which is getting more people to know and like and trust you. So how do we get started on this strategy? Well, The first thing that we want to do is join or create groups that our customers would already be a part of, okay? So joining is, I think, a much more sustainable strategy for most people. If you're very community focused and you're very community driven, or you already have a community around your brand, creating groups might be a great idea for you. But most people, I would advise, start by joining groups. So think about who your customer is and think about what groups they might already be a part of. And what you want to do when you're joining or creating is think about a group that is based on a broad interest rather than a narrow one. So what does that mean? It means that if you're selling yoga clothes, the interest group that you want to be looking for, obviously, is people who are doing yoga. You don't want a group that is around, yoga fashion, because that is much more niche down than, people who are doing yoga. Similarly, people who are into spirituality might be into yoga. People who are into self-improvement might be into yoga. So think about all these sort of broader groups that your customer might be in, and then find Facebook groups locally to you that you can participate in. What you want to do is participate in a meaningful conversation as your brand, okay? And we're going to hammer this point. You want to be your brand, like you actually want your brand name to appear there, and you want to engage in meaningful conversation. And what does that mean? It means that you want to contribute to these groups as your business with answers, expertise, and advice, okay? The majority of Facebook groups that I am in are just people asking questions and looking for help. Facebook groups truly is built exclusively around community. And so it's just an online community of people that are in a neighborhood or that are in a specific group or that are in a specific area, just asking questions, just creating community like you would in a group chat with your friends, okay? So people will say, hey, does anybody know where I can get a massage? My back has been killing me, or whatever it might be, okay? And so what you want to do is when there is an opportunity for you or your business to contribute to a conversation with something that you know that other people don't know, you want to provide that value. So when we're talking about Facebook groups and we're talking about interacting in them, we want to be providing more value than we are extracting. This is very true. We are there in service of our customers. We're not there to sell them things. We are there to get them aware of us and to get them to like and trust us, because what we're doing is being helpful. So use groups where you've built trust to post events and not products. This is sort of a transitional point that I'll get to in a second. But I really just want to, sort of nail that point home, is that when you are joining Facebook groups, now you've looked at your customers, you've found out what their potential interests are, you've joined these Facebook groups for their potential interests. Okay, so let's say my potential interests, I'm very into, doing triathlons right now. So cycling and running and swimming. Okay, so my potential interest could be any of those things. If there's a local running club in my area, if there is a local cycling club in my area, if there is a local swimming club in my area, I'm into all of those things. And so therefore, any business who wants to sell me any of those things can really get in my good books and build up trust by being an active part of that community. If I notice that every time I post a cycling question, even if it's about something that isn't product related, if I say, hey, where's the best, cycling holiday that I could go on in Ontario when the weather warms up? And a bike shop says, here's all the best routes that I've curated over time. They're not selling me anything, but now they've done a favor for me. I've liked them. I will probably click on their profile or probably look at them. And when the time comes that I need to buy a product, I'm much more likely to buy it from them than I am to, just go on Amazon and buy it arbitrarily from somebody I've never met before. So let's go back to that third point over there, which is use groups where you've built trust to post events and not products. So this again is thinking about the end state of what are we doing once we have all these eyeballs. So we've identified who our customers are, we've identified what their interests are, we've identified what groups they're in, we have joined these groups, and we're contributing to these groups. How are we going to get customers from doing this? The strategy here is not to say, after 6 months of being very helpful and very nice to all of these people, hey, by the way, I run a store and you should buy my product from it. That is not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is continue to provide value. And one of the ways that we can provide value is creating events for that community, which is the next strategy that we're going to talk about. So events are a massively, massively important way to market your business because they ingrain you in the community. Events allow you to meet people who are your potential customers in a situation that is unintimidating because you're not selling to them, and in a situation where they're highly likely to get to know you and to like you, or to get to know and like your brand, because they're already doing something that they enjoy. And better yet, if you are a part of or you're facilitating their ability to enjoy that thing. So when it comes to events, you can do three things. You can host events, you can sponsor events, or you can support. What does that mean? It means that you can offer your space, your time, or your products and services. These are the things that you can do when it comes to events. So if you're a retail location, you can hold events in your space. These events don't need to be your events. They can be events from people in your community. If you are a wine bar, but you know somebody that's having a book launch, it doesn't matter that you're not a bookshop. You can use your wine bar as a place to have that event. Or you can use your coffee shop as a place to have that event. Or if somebody is releasing a movie that is about your industry, if you are a cooking school and somebody is making a documentary about cooking, you can have the first screening at your cooking school or whatever it might be. So these are things that you can do. You can offer your space. You can also offer your time. So you can volunteer at events. I would highly recommend this, just going to community events and volunteering. This is where you're going to meet your customers. As a small business, community is so important. Yes, your actual physical, proximity to the community. Do you like the people that are in the shop next to you? Do you like the people that come walking by your store every day? Do you have a bowl of water outside for dogs or whatever it might be? That is super important, but also people. People, when you are a small business, especially other small business owners, are going to be the thing that give you most of your opportunities. And your biggest opportunities are going to come from places and people that you do not expect. So you can offer your time. You can volunteer at events. You could say, you know what? I am going to come and, do labor or hand out pamphlets or do code check at this event. Whatever it is, being a part of your community is really important because obviously you're going to start talking to people, and these are people who are interested in your niche or in your industry. Or you could offer your products and services. So you could do this in two ways. You could, let's say hypothetically, you are a dessert store. Talking a lot about desserts today. You could probably tell that I'm hungry. So let's say you're a dessert store, and there is a local event where people get together and watch movies. What you can do is you could say, hey, we make this very cool kind of popcorn that we would love everyone to try. And so everyone who comes to this event is going to get a free bag of our popcorn. Amazing, great, you've contributed to the event. And you also don't have to do that. You could say, go to the organizer of the event and say, hey, I see that you're having a movie night. I love movies. We, as a brand, love movies. We have this popcorn that we really think people would like. Would it be a cool idea to set up a little popcorn stand where customers can buy popcorn from us, a little concession stand? That is also an opportunity to contribute your products or services because you're providing something that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Yes, people have to pay for the popcorn, great. But what you're giving them is the opportunity to eat popcorn while watching a movie. And who among us does not want that? So again, you want to find the intersections of your interests and create or contribute to events that are related to them. Here is an example. again, very into cycling and all that sort of thing right now, dreaming that I could be out and that it wasn't snowing. So here's a cycling store in LA. Here's their social media, but here's a very logical event that they can do. So they are a cycling store. They do group rides where all the cyclists in the neighborhood meet at their store and go cycle together. It is facilitated by them, but essentially their space is the meeting spot, okay? So this is a really great idea for any interest group because it is associating your space with that community. All you are doing really is taking on the labor of organizing that event and giving those people a space to meet at. So there's two things that might happen. If you did not exist, they would either meet somebody else, meet somewhere else and still do the event, or it is possible that all of those people would not be connected unless through you, which is a very important point. When it comes to events, the thing that you want to think about most of all is creating community for your customers, okay? Why does this matter? Because you are the common link between your customers. So the thing that all your customers have in common is that they like whatever your industry or niche is. Another idea that you can do for events is to provide expertise and education. So you can have workshops, you can have roundtables. If you are an artisanal clothing store, you can have a workshop where people come in and they learn how to sew, or they customize their own product. And people can pay for these things, or you can make it free. You're giving people a reason to come into your store by providing value to them. If people are interested in fashion, they might be interested in how it works, how to make those things. If you're a ceramic store, bring people in and teach them how to make ceramics. Not only does it endear them to you, of course, and make them think of you fondly, but it also brings people into your store that would not have otherwise been there. So there's a lot of places that people are willing to go if it benefits them, that they would not go purely out of the desire to spend money, okay? So sometimes, there's a store that's too expensive for me, but if they have an event, I would go in there and maybe I would find out that actually half of their product line is well within my budget. So it creates these opportunities for people not only to familiarize themselves with you and with your business, but it provides, an opportunity for them to get something from you, which is great and builds your community. So you want to be visible in your community. That is super important. So whatever your niche is, you want to be a community pillar for that niche if you can do that. And you do that by sponsoring events that don't benefit you directly. We all remember, or sorry, some of us will probably remember, Timbits Soccer League or Timbits Hockey, or all of those sort of things. What does Tim Hortons have to do with soccer or with hockey? Absolutely nothing at all. But it showed that they were invested in the community. It showed that they cared about your kids. And if you are choosing a place to drink coffee, you're going to choose the one that cares about your kids over the one that doesn't. Also, I mean, that's Tim Hortons. So that's a very broad, that's a reach for them. I don't think Tim Hortons actually specifically cares about each individual community, but you care about your community way more than they do. So just showing you it's an opportunity for you, somebody who is actually in your community, to sort of have that association because it is out there for you to take. When you are doing events, perhaps the most important thing, if you're sitting there saying, I would love to do an event, but I can't think of one, use events and collaborations as a way to borrow and share audience, okay? So what you can do is offer up your space and invite guests that your audience would be interested in. So if you are a kitchen supply store, so you sell plates and knives and forks and frying pans and all those sort of things, what you can do is you can invite in a local chef to do a masterclass or do a talk or do a workshop. The benefit is that they will bring their audience, and their audience will become your audience because their audience is in your store, okay? So it creates a draw, it gives people a reason to come, it takes the onus off you to bring in all the audience, and it also generates ideas for new events and intersections, because maybe you will say, we hosted this event with this chef and that was amazing. What if we, next time had a different kind of guest or a different chef? Or what if instead of doing a talk, we did a dinner, or, and in the dinner, we launched our new product range. So everyone is eating off the plates that we just launched. So events are really a great way to be borrowing audiences and creating collaborations, because community is so important. The great thing about collaborations, especially with people that already have an audience, people and brands that already have an audience, is that it creates content for them too. So they are promoting your brand as much as you are promoting theirs. So we are going to get into more traditional things here for the last 15 minutes. We're going to talk about things like PR and media. So PR and media is seen as being very old school and also as very complicated, and it's very difficult. There's PR agencies and people who will get you placements in media and, endless lists of things like this. And it can be very, very intimidating. As a small business, what you want to do when it comes to PR and media is do it in a small businessy way. What that means is when you see something that you like in your local newspaper or on your favorite podcast or on a blog or an Instagram page that you like, you should engage with and introduce yourself to the people that are creating content in your niche or your industry. If you are a bakery and you look at this food reviewer who's reviewing everyone else and you don't personally know that food reviewer, email that food reviewer, message that food reviewer on Instagram, make a connection with that person. Again, community is the thing that is going to make us successful when it comes to marketing as a small business. So nobody knows these people until they introduce themselves. And if you are in the media, anybody that has worked in any sort of media knows that you are constantly on the lookout for new stories, for new content, for all of these things. This is somebody's job. And in the same way that it's your job, to go out and find new customers, and that's what you wake up thinking about in the morning, it's somebody else's job to think about, what restaurant am I going to feature? What store am I going to highlight? What story am I going to write in my next, op-ed piece? So these people are just like you, and they are dying for ideas, and you can be the one to bring them. So what you can do in this relationship, I would advise, honestly, just like following these people, connecting with them, being genuine. Don't follow people if you don't like their work. Don't connect with people if you don't like their work, because it's going to benefit you. Go to people that you actually admire, and maybe just tell them that you admire their work. So if somebody writes, a really great review of a local store in your community that you love, you can say, hey, I read your piece about the store, really love what you're doing to bring awareness to the community. Thanks so much. Okay. It can be as simple as that. What you can do if that relationship progresses is offer yourself as an expert or an industry insider. Again, journalists, content people are always looking for connections, for people to work with. And one day they might be, writing a story where they need somebody who is in your industry and they know you now, so they're going to reach out to you. That store that I use an example in Vintage We Trust, the owner, Josh, has been in tons of news articles, documentaries, all sorts of things, because he's connected with the media and people know what he cares about and what he knows about. So work with journalists and content creators to make things interesting for their audience. So what I mean by that is that in order to get your story told, you need to have a story. Of course, when it comes to PR, what we think about is, oh, we're launching a new product. We want to get our new product launch into the newspaper. Why would the newspaper want to write about your new product launch? Okay. I'm not asking that in a belittling way. I'm saying, think about an angle on why it would matter to them. If the newspaper, always cares about, it can be whatever, your community, your industry, your niche. Maybe you went up to Algonquin National Park and you saw the trees, and the trees inspired you to create your new product line. That is the story. There's a new product line that's entirely inspired by trees. If you're donating a part of your profits for your product to a cause that is close to you, amazing. That is a story. Local business creates new product line to benefit such and such cause. That is the story. The fact that you have done something is not a story in itself. There has to be a story around it. There has to be a reason that somebody would write about it and would care. And journalists are happy to work with you. As long as you are pitching things, they're happy to make it better so that you can actually get published. Another great idea is submit yourself for awards. All those people that you see that are on Forbes list or top 30 under 40 or whatever it might be, all those people had to submit themselves for those awards. Newspapers aren't out there looking for people to give awards to. Magazines aren't out there looking for people to give awards to. All of those people submit their own work for awards. That is the way that the world works. So do that. You can also, further down the line, get involved in awards committees. Maybe you can create local awards or go to a local board who has an awards thing and present yourself as a judge. You can say, hey, I've been in this industry for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it might be. And I would love to help in any way that I can. Maybe I'm a judge, maybe I'm a consultant, maybe I'm something. But that's a great way to get your name out there. A big piece of advice is say yes to non-traditional opportunities and start looking for non-traditional opportunities. So a lot of people are thinking just about newspaper. How do I get on TV? How do I get in GQ magazine or wherever it might be? But think about the other forms of media that you consume. If there's a YouTube channel that you really like, if there's an Instagram page that you really like, if there's a TikToker that you really like, think about those people and reach out for those opportunities too. And once you get PR or media, make sure to use your PR and media on your own channels and on your own website to give yourself legitimacy. Because when people see that, this business has been chosen by whatever this newspaper is as an expert in this field, that's something that you can use for your own benefit. We're going to quickly talk about SEO here. The reason I've left SEO until the end is because traditionally it's one of these really big things that people talk about and people hire SEO experts. And as a small business, if you're not willing to spend a lot of money, it is very difficult to be successful in SEO, except if you follow this strategy. So here's a secret for everyone. All the information expertise that you have to give, everything that is inside of you, all the knowledge that you have accrued over your years of running your business should be available on the internet for free, and your name and or face should be attached to it. If your grandmother had a really good recipe for something 100 years ago, that should be on the internet if it's related to your industry. So anything that again, let's say you are a clothing line. If you know how to use a sewing machine, that should be on the internet with your name on it, with your face on it. If there is a common issue that people have with sewing machines, if everyone that starts sewing has issues threading the needle, or I don't remember what that thing is. I have issues sewing personally. I'm not very good at it. It keeps falling off. So I go and watch YouTube videos of people, and that YouTube video could be you. You should only publish on platforms that are searchable and bring an audience to you. I think gone are the days of having blogs, of having 4 million subdomains to your website where you're posting things and you're trying so hard and you're creating this content specifically to get SEO. I don't think that's a great strategy for small businesses. I think you should be posting on platforms that are searchable and that bring an audience to you. So what are those platforms? Those platforms are things like YouTube, TikTok, Medium. No idea when it comes to SEO is too simple or too specific. So when we're talking about your expertise or your knowledge, being the only one is actually an advantage. So a lot of times, when people are searching for a tutorial or something on YouTube, or they're searching on Google, they're searching for a specific thing. If my microwave breaks, I'm looking for my specific model of microwave. And so I'm not looking for the brand of microwave, I'm looking for the specific model. And if nobody is showing a tutorial for that specific model, that is an opportunity for you. So do you see how being specific, really narrowing down, is a massive advantage when it comes to SEO, and that's how you're going to get found. So SEO narrowing down in terms of specificity, but also in terms of being local. So maybe it's not how to repair a pair of pants, it's how to repair a pair of pants in Oshawa, Ontario. That could be a thing. So things you could use for SEO: YouTube tutorials, YouTube reviews. Again, we want to have the same strategy as we do on social media. Different kinds of lamp in your store, do a review for each of the 200 lamps, okay? Somebody will find them and somebody will watch them. Or even explainers, you know, if there's some knowledge that you have about your industry, how do you get fitted for a suit? Or how do we tailor our suits? Or how do we create our products, or whatever it might be? That information should be out there because it's creating another opportunity for people to find you. If you're doing written pieces, if you don't want to be on YouTube, or you don't want to be on TikTok, or you don't want to show your face, publish written pieces on publications that have an audience that is bigger than yours, okay? So in my opinion, Medium is going to be the one for that. I, in the past, have had a lot of success ranking for very narrow things on Medium. And there are some things that if you search on Google to this day, my Medium posts are the ones that come up in the little top box. So it is very effective because they are highly ranked on Google, and you always want to be doing things that are working with the current, not against it. You don't want to start a new blog where you have to build this new audience where, you know, you have no cachet on Google when it comes to SEO. What you really want to do is go to places that have massive cachet. YouTube, TikTok is also searchable. You know, Pinterest is searchable. Medium is also searchable. It comes up on Google, and you want to be posting all of your stuff on those platforms. Another thing you can do for SEO is you can use trending topics to create interest. So if you have a business that is related in any way to anything that is currently popular, you can do that. So again, let's say you are a fashion store. You could say, here's how to easily dress as this Netflix character for Halloween using the clothes that are in our store. That's just an example, but it's just to give you an idea. If something is trending right now, if it's a thing that's happening, and it is at all related to your industry, you can think of some creative ways to create content that is, you know, going to be related to what people are searching for. Because, you know, when Halloween rolls around, people are going to search easy, you know, X character name content. Sorry, go back over here. And collaborate and cross-promote with other businesses in your industry. And the last thing that we're going to talk about here for the last 5 minutes, and then we're going to hop into any questions that people might have. So we've gone through a lot of tools, and now we want to return to the beginning to think about how we're going to capture and keep customers. So again, we're talking about that funnel. Now that we know all these ways that we could bring people in, what are we going to do with those people when they're there? So again, it's important before you start doing any of these things to know where you're sending customers and to know what you're going to do with them when they get there. So places that you could be sending your customers could be in store. You could, your whole entire marketing strategy could be to get more customers into your store, which is a great strategy if your store is where you sell primarily. If you sell online primarily, you might want to work to get more customers into your email system. And that way you can communicate with them whenever you want. If you are online, if you do have an online store, email is consistently, and I believe will always be, the most effective way to get in touch with any of your customers. If you're going to build one thing on the internet, what I would advise that you build is an email list and have a plan for how you're going to keep people engaged and coming back. So let's say you do get 20,000, let me not be hyperbolic for the sake of it. Let's say you get 20,000 people in your email newsletter list. How are you going to keep them engaged? And how are you going to keep them coming back? Is it going to be with, you know, new products? Is it going to be with new analysis? Is it going to be with new ideas? Is it going to be with trending topics? What is it going to be? And importantly, give people a reason to revisit. And this is sort of, when we're talking about that social media strategy, this is a thing that is so important. Our customers we have to think of our customers as an uphill battle, right? Like, they are not falling over themselves to come into our store. So the onus is on us to give people a reason to come back, to make ourselves irresistible to them. And so that's what we want to be thinking about doing when we have these customers coming in. So when it comes to capturing and actually keeping those customers, things that you can do, again, if we're talking about email, you can use promotions and giveaways to capture. You want to send regular, consistently good emails. People always ask, how often should I email people on my list? And I say, as often as you can send a good email, because if you don't send good emails, people will unsubscribe. So rather err on the side of less frequent. Provide value based on the thing that first hooked them. So if you first got people to sign up for this email by sending them 10 outfit ideas every Friday, keep doing things that are in that vein. Don't suddenly, completely change what it is and just start sending them marketing emails with your product in it, asking them to sell. So keep them coming back by giving them the thing that first brought them in, and make it a story, and don't ask people to buy. So that's how we're going to convert people. Don't ask people to buy. Don't say, hey, here is just a promotion or whatever. If you have brought customers in by being interesting, by giving them something of value, by giving them something that they care about, the way that you're going to make them buy is by doing the same thing, by providing value, by being interesting, by giving them the thing that they care about. It is so important when we're talking about marketing. The thing that we want in marketing is for more customers to come to us. And the way that we get more customers to come to us always in all of these strategies is to be extremely generous, to be as generous as you possibly can be, to provide as much value in every way in your products, in your content, by being helpful, by being interesting to your customers as you possibly can. And that is the way that you're going to win and convert customers. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. That is all the time that we have. I really appreciate you being with us, and I hope that you attend the other events that we have for you. I will be here again on Thursday. So if you're here on Thursday, you will see me, and you get the opportunity to ask a lot of questions.